The French Revolution is often heralded as bringing with it the birth of the modern era. With the arrival of Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité came the fall of the French monarchy and the declaration of the rights of man and of the citizen. These ideals brought about the notion of human rights and continue to inform many of the values that drive liberal democracies to this day. But the French Revolution also brought about the Reign of Terror and the iconic bloody guillotine that carried out so many deaths. The French Revolution also ransacked, confiscated, and destroyed many churches in France, the eldest daughter of the Church.
Thank you so much, Father.
In order to make sense of this conflicted history of the Revolution, we spoke with Father Mark Lewis, rector of the Pontifical Gregorian University in Rome.
By the time we get to the French Revolution, there's much more of a sense of there has to be a purity of ideology, and that begins to have an impact. So, darn it, if you're not in favor of those three values, we're going to shoot you. The other thing that's really important, or guillotine you, the other thing that's really sort of important is that what is it replacing? If you have a very hierarchical structure, and if you have a sense that the first estate, the second estate, that's the nobles and the clergy, are somehow better, have more value, that goes very much against this notion of equality. And the reaction is going to be much stronger. Revolutionary thought tends towards the purification of ideology. So everyone has to be on board. And the best way to get everyone on board is to eliminate anyone who disagrees. And after a while, the people who disagree start agreeing after they see enough people killed.
Could you speak on that French form of secularism, la laïcité, that kind of was born out of the French Revolution?
When the revolution comes, they realize that the church is very much tied to the Ancien Regime and has been part of what bolstered it and is very much tied to it. So if you're going to level the playing field, if you're going to get rid of the nobility, you have to at least get control of the church. So the oath that the clergy are required to swear to the revolution, about 54% did, which also indicates that the lower clergy were with the people in the revolutionary first movements. And then the persecution was with those who didn't swear the oath, and it was pretty bloody there too. What does the revolution do about religion? Initially, there's this sort of Enlightenment sense of, well, religion's not very rational. It impedes people's reasons, so let's get rid of it. But people are very tied to some kind of religious experience, so we'll create a new religion of reason, which in fact was not very popular because it didn't make much sense.
How did the church survive that period? What was it like living in France at that time?
In a lot of different ways. So you have, especially the lower clergy, like I said, many of them just became sort of employees of the state and continued to do the ministry that they would have done under the Ancien Regime, but paid by the government. Some of them did also suffer martyrdom because they stood up to the state on questions where there was corruption.
How did the global Catholic Church respond?
In the early part of the revolution, there was a great deal of fear that this revolutionary idea was going to spread across Europe. So the initial reaction is trying to keep the revolution as confined as possible and not to, hopefully have it fail. Which I think to some extent happens with the arrival of Napoleon Bonaparte. A return to basically a concordat with the church. I think in the end the church realized it had to create a new relationship with a government that was not going to be a monarchy.
How do you believe the revolution continues to influence Catholicism in France to this day?
I think the effect is that the church has to figure out how does it cooperate with government, even a government that it doesn't agree with, in order to have a legitimacy in a place to be able to serve the people, do charity, do sacraments. And to what extent do you identify with the government as we're an extension of it?
Well, thank you so much, Father Luis. Thank you.